And there you go, here he is. So good evening once again. Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon actually to everyone on the Acts on This TV audio experience who might be listening on the replay. If you're watching this on the replay, massive shout out to you guys as well. Really do appreciate anybody giving me their ear on the audio experience or their eyes on the video replay as well. So thank you so much for joining us. For those who are here live, you're going to be able to communicate with me live tonight. I've got my phone here. I can see all the comments coming through. Fanny's here. She's just got here. She was exercising. She says she was late. Well, better late than never, Fanny. You've not missed anything yet. We've literally only just started. Emma, good evening to you as well. So for like I say, I was just saying in the lobby before we started this properly. To those who were joining, James, good evening. I was saying that I scope twice a week. There's a lot of new faces on here tonight. So how this works is on a Monday night at 9 p.m. UK time, I do a personal development Periscope, and on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. I do a book club. Now, normally on the book club, we look at one book for an entire month, and I do one chapter of the book every Wednesday for 4 weeks. Okay, so we just looked at a book that was called The 5 Regrets of the Dying, the top 5 regrets of the dying. I know it sounds morbid as shit, right? But it was a super inspirational book, literally on the top 5 regrets of the dying, regrets that you don't want to have. And they were written by a woman called Bronnie Ware, who worked in palliative care for years, and she worked with people at the end of their lives, collated all of these regrets, and then published an amazing book that everybody should read. If you haven't read it, then you should get yourself over to actsonthis.tv and just watch the replays. They're all there. Or subscribe to the Acts on This TV audio experience on iTunes or Stitcher.com, and you can listen to the replays as well. Patrick just left me a comment there saying, did I see his video? Patrick, I've not watched it yet, mate. I saw the message come through. I'm going to check that out. But yeah, it looked like a good video with a moral. Tonight's story is all about, well, they all have morals, guys. Sam says, Ross, I'm sure you missed one chapter. Yeah, we did. I mean, we only get a chance to look at 4 chapters throughout the month, Sam. So I can, a lot of books obviously have more than 4 chapters. I choose the 4 particular kind of special ones that I think that you guys would get the most benefit from. So yeah, unfortunately I can't cover everything in a book on these book clubs, but I can cover as much as possible. And if you want to get the book yourself, if you're watching the replay, you'll see a link underneath the video on previous book clubs. Tonight there will be no link because this book isn't a book, it's a story. Let me throw some slides up and show you actually what's going on. So tonight we're looking at, this is a classic, guys. I know you've all heard this story before. Of course you have, okay? The Hare and the Tortoise. It's a super simple fable that we were all taught at school, but it's old. And I've remixed it, not once, not twice, but 3 times tonight to give you guys some strategies and just a little wake-up, I think. And I needed this wake-up myself a few weeks ago when someone else shared this with me. Really to how you are tackling success in your life, how you are tackling the acting industry, how you are just tackling everything, okay, in your life. And I think you're gonna enjoy it. If you can, just before I start properly, share the scope. I ask everyone to do this. So for those who are new, to share the scope, you just click on the 3 buttons on the bottom of your screen. You select that you want to share the broadcast, and then you can click on Twitter or Facebook, and you can send it out. Steve's already shared it. Fanny's just shared it. Thank you. I've just seen James has just retweeted it. So appreciate that. The more people we can get on, the more people we can impact tonight, and the more positive. I said on Monday we want to make positivity louder. This is certainly going to go a long way to doing that tonight. So we've all been told the story of the Hare and the Tortoise. All right, look at these little guys. Tony says, "Is the UK version different? Does the hare win?" Okay, right. Well, we're gonna look at a few different versions tonight, Tony. But I think the original version is the same in the UK and America. Tonight we're gonna look at a slightly different remixed version of the tale. All right, a version that I think highlights some key issues for actors right now. You know what? Not just actors, but human beings. Okay. So first things first. I'm going to read you, just to take you back to your childhood, I'm going to read you the original story, okay? So I'm going to come back on camera, and I've got it on my iPad here. I'm going to have to just put this down so I can't read the comments for a second, but I'm going to read you the original Aesop's fable of the Hare and the Tortoise, okay? Give me some hearts if it was one of your favourite ones. It was always a good one, I think, this one. I can see people putting the hearts through now. Lucy's here as well. Good evening, Lucy. So here's the Hare and the Tortoise, right? Okay, it's got a little bit more jazzy since I read it at school, and people are giving the characters like voices and stuff like that. But here we go. Anyway, it starts off and it says, "Look at me," said the hare to the other animals. "Just look how fast I can run." The hare ran across a field as fast as he could. All the animals agreed that, yeah, the hare was very fast. The hare ran back. "See," he shouted, "I'm not even out of breath." Show off. "Yeah, that was fast," said a fox. "So who wants a race then?" said the hare. "Anyone think they could beat me?" None of the animals spoke. "See," said the hare, "you're all too scared to even try." "I'll have a go," said the tortoise. The hare laughed. "You? The slowest creature in the whole world? I'm not wasting time racing a tortoise." "What's the matter?" said the tortoise. "Scared I might beat you?" Some of the animals laughed at that, so the hare said, "All right then, tortoise, let's have a race right now. Then we'll see who's laughing." "Not today," said the tortoise. "We'll race next week. Got to do a bit of training first." So they've made it a bit more modern, haven't they? Next morning, the animals watched the tortoise do his training. First, he did some gentle stretching exercise to warm himself up, and then he started to run. "Has he started running yet?" asked the fox. "Hard to tell with tortoises," said the badger. "He's definitely moving, isn't he?" said the fox. "Tortoise, are you sure about this?" said the crow. "I mean, the hare is very fast, and you, well... "Don't worry," said the tortoise. "This is just day one. I'll speed up, you'll see." On the day of the race, crowds of animals came to watch. The tortoise slowly made his way to the starting line, and then suddenly, the hare arrived at top speed, wearing a brand new tracksuit and 4 expensive-looking trainers. See what I mean? They've made it way more modern. "The race starts here," said the fox, pointing to a line on the ground, "and ends at that tree on the other side of the field. First one to touch the tree is the winner." "Right, let's get on with it," said the hare. "Ready, tortoise? Ready to see some real speed?" "I'm ready," said the tortoise. "Ready, steady, go," said the fox, and the race began. The hare roared off, then stopped and looked back. The tortoise was still crossing the starting line. The hare ran back to the tortoise. "Didn't you hear him say go? You can start, you know." "I have started," said the tortoise. "Look," said the hare, "you're going so slowly, I'm going to have a rest. Might even have a little sleep. I'll finish the race when I wake up and I'll still beat you by miles." The hare lay down in the sun and fell asleep. The tortoise kept going. Slowly, steadily, he moved across the field, and by evening time he was getting close to the finishing tree. Still the hare slept on, and now the animals were starting to get excited. "You know what? I think he might win," said a rabbit. "I can't believe it," said the badger. "The tortoise might actually win." The animals started to get excited, and as the tortoise got close to the finishing tree, they started to cheer. "Come on, tortoise," they shouted, "nearly there. Keep going, old friend, keep going." But the noise of the cheering crowd woke up the hare. He looked across the field, saw the tortoise about to reach the tree, and in a flash he was running. The tortoise heard the hare thundering up behind him, but he kept going, and suddenly he was there. Just in time, the tortoise touched the tree with his nose. He'd done it. The tortoise had beaten the hare fair and square. "There you go," said the badger. "Slow and steady's sometimes better than fast and flashy." "Not fair," said the hare. "I was asleep. We have to run the race again. It's not fair." But no one was listening to the hare. So that's the original, guys, all right? That's the original. I hope you enjoyed the original, more modern version than the one that you probably read at school. But that's the tale we all know, okay? Where the hare is so cocky, he falls asleep. "Not fair," said the hare in his new Nike Air, said Fanny. Great rhyming, Fanny. But yeah, that's the one that we were all told at school, okay? And I think, you know, it does have a moral there that's very useful for us. Let me put these slides back up. But I think we live in a world now where that moral isn't the be-all and end-all. And the moral is, in that story, that slow and steady, or slow and consistent, okay, is another word I would use for this, could win the race, okay? They want to tell you that slow and steady wins the race. I've changed this. I don't think that's always the case. Slow and steady, or slow and consistent, could win the race, guys, okay? The Hare and the Tortoise version 2 is what, in fact, I don't want to just show you that just yet, is what I want to read you now. And these are alternative versions of this story that I think we can actually learn some better morals from, okay? And particularly as actors, it's not always slow and steady that's going to win the race here, all right? I see actors that are slow and steady, and they're slow and steady for 17 years and they've still got nowhere, okay? Whereas other people who are a bit faster and just as steady can get much further, okay, than those ones who are just slow and steady, all right? So it's not always about just being slow and steady. So let's read version 2, okay? The Hare and the Tortoise version 2. These are a bit shorter, but these pack a punch, right? So the hare was disappointed at losing the race, and he did some soul searching, okay? He realised that he'd lost the race only because he'd been overconfident, careless, and lax, okay? If he'd not taken things for granted, so many people do, there's no way the tortoise could have beaten him, okay? So he challenged the tortoise to another race, and the tortoise agreed. This time, the hare went all out and ran without stopping from start to finish. And of course, what happened? Well, he won by several miles, okay? Because the hare was always going to win if he wasn't overconfident, cocky, falling asleep under a tree, and just losing because, he was lax, okay? He wasn't working very hard. He had the ability, he just wasn't using it in that first race. So when he puts that ability to good use, of course, he wins by several miles, okay? So what's the moral here? Well, the new moral that I want people to realise is that fast and consistent will always beat slow and steady. I don't give a shit what anybody says, okay? Yes, slow and steady will win a race or could win a race. But what's better than slow and steady, particularly for actors in an industry that moves so fucking quickly, is that fast and consistent will always beat slow and steady. It's good to be slow and steady, but it's better to be fast and reliable. Who agrees with that before I move on? Okay? So you need to look at what you're being in the industry right now. Are you just looking at slow and steady? True dat, says Caroline. And Fanny says, yeah. Are you just being slow and steady? And that's why you've been slow and steady for 6, 7 years and you still ain't got an agent, or you still haven't got that audition you wanted. And you're like, you know what? If I just keep ploughing on and keep ploughing on, which normally is very true. Bobby's here. All right, Bobby. James says he's not sure. And Lucy's giving us a thumbs up. Okay. Yeah, you might, look at how you have been pursuing this industry so far and look at whether you have been using your skills like the hare and you've been fast and consistent, or whether you've just been going slow and steady, okay? If a director has 2 actors to choose from, one slow, methodical and reliable, the other fast and still reliable at what he does, the fast and reliable actor will always get the job, okay? And I'm talking about fast at taking direction, fast at learning lines, and fast at getting it right, okay? I spent the entire weekend working with, one of the biggest casting directors in the country on an absolutely massive Netflix drama, okay, that will change. This isn't just like a little thing, right? This will change the lives of the people who get the roles in this. And we're not just talking one series of this, which would be 8 episodes. This is going to go potentially for 6 years, okay? Now, people who were coming into that audition, oh my God, seriously, there were some people that I'm like, wow, you really don't appreciate the thing that is on offer to you here, okay? This is Game of Thrones style massive, okay? Will change these people's lives. And people were coming in on that slow and steady, slow and boring style casting, plodding through, nothing dynamic, nothing edgy, they weren't rattling through the scenes. People were going through the scenes slow and steady. Scenes that need energy, that need snappy, bang, bang, bang. And I'm reading in with these actors, trying to keep the pace up for them. Because I'm seeing actor after actor come into the room, and this casting director going, no, I want more. You've got to be more excited. You've got to be fast, within this scene. You've got to be fast with your thinking. If I give you direction, I want you to take that on board quickly, not take another 5 takes before you begin to understand it. And there were people who were slow, methodical, and they'd probably be reliable. But the ones who were really making an impact were the ones who were taking the direction on board quickly, changing stuff up, trying new things. So it's super important, that's like the way that you're looking really at your life, at your career, at your scenes. You've got to still be reliable. But the quicker you can change and the more dynamic you can be, the better. But the story doesn't end there, okay? So it's not just that I think fast and consistent or fast and reliable is better than slow and steady. There's another version of this story, okay? Keen and enthusiastic is another way Caroline's put it there. Yeah, I mean, that's good. Tell you what, one thing, guys, this is a tip for you. If you go into an audition and when you walk in, the casting director and the director and the writer says, "What do you think of the script?" And you start gushing like, "Oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever seen. I'm so excited to be here. You don't understand how good I think this is." And that's all fine. It's great to get enthusiastic about that. That's okay. But fucking hell, if you do that, please have the goods to back up what you are saying. Because the person who came in and said that, and we were all like, wow, this person, by the sound of it, they've had this script a week, has clearly, gone into this in such depth. They're so excited about it. They're going to be good. And oh my God, talk about like low energy, slow, plodding, methodical, boring bullshit. They left the room and were like, wow, if you're going to come in and have that much excitement over a script, please back it up with some talent and the goods, because it just sort of, it just kind of like, what's the word? Compounds how bad you are if you're bad. It's not good. It's not good. Fanny says, must be so eye-opening working in casting. It really is. It's an absolute privilege. I'm very, very honoured to be asked in to read in auditions, and it's very interesting just seeing people not really appreciate how the thing on offer, the opportunity on offer. James said, how do they get in the room? These people, James, mate, seriously had very good agents. The question I was asking the casting director, and he was asking himself, is, oh my goodness, how did they get this agent? That's the thing, and I don't know if they were just having an off day on that day, or they weren't appreciating the fact that this show, we were auditioning the two leads, right? A boy and a girl. And these are the faces that are going to be on that poster. And I promise you, this show, I can't tell you anything about it because I've signed an NDA. But these people will be on that poster. It'll be a huge show, potentially for 6 years. And they will be the faces. Like when you see a Game of Thrones poster and you don't need to see anything else. You don't even need to see anything but GOT and one of those faces. And you're like, I know exactly what that is. It's world renowned. That's what this show is going to be. And those people just didn't get it. They just didn't see, or they maybe didn't understand by reading the scripts how good this thing's going to be. So let's have a look at the next version, okay, of the tortoise and the hare, okay, the hare and the tortoise. This is version 3, okay. Now this time the tortoise did some thinking. Fanny's saying, were they young? They were quite young. Yeah, they were around about, they were between 18 and 20, which is still not particularly young. They should have their head screwed on by then. So the tortoise did some thinking this time and realised that there was no way he could beat the hare in a race in its current format. Okay, there is just no way that a tortoise can beat a hare, okay, unless the hare falls asleep. There's just no way. In its current format, it's impossible, okay? And sometimes you've got to look at the acting industry and go, right, what format is the industry in right now? And what kind of race am I running? Do I actually stand a chance of winning it in the current format that I am seeing it? Okay. So the tortoise thought for a while and then challenged the hare to a third race. Trisha, good evening. But on a slightly different route. This is the key, okay? And the hare agreed. Okay, the tortoise and the hare set off. In keeping with his self-made commitment to be consistently fast, which I want everyone in here to do, be consistently fast, guys, the hare ran at full speed until he came to a broad river. Dun, dun, dun. So the format of the race has changed. The finishing line was a couple of kilometres on the other side of the river. Okay, the hare sat there wondering what to do. In the meantime, the tortoise trundled along, walked into the river, swam steadily to the other side, and won the race. Fanny's saying nice. Okay? So what happened here then? The moral of this story. Identify your core competency and change the playing field to suit it. Cunning, says Caroline. So right now, look at what your core competency is in the acting industry, okay? Fanny's loving this. And have a look at the race you're currently running. Because your core competencies might not be in alignment with the race you're currently running in the acting industry. We might need to change that up. Let me give you some examples, all right? So in the acting industry, you should always be playing to your strengths. And yet I see so many people not doing this. And not just not playing to their strengths, but actively playing against it. So James says, can you explain? This is the explanation, James. So if your strength is comedy, right? What are you doing opening your show reel with high drama? Okay? What are you doing with a really serious headshot? Smile on your headshot if you want to be seen for comedy, okay? And shoot comedy sketches and put them out there, okay? If you're sat at home going, I could do comedy, but you're not telling anybody you could do comedy, and you're not putting any comedy on your show reel, and your headshot's serious as hell, then how do you expect anybody to know that your core competency is comedy? So the race that they are then presenting to you is one that you can never win. Equally, right, I put this on because I had to do a self-tape for Vera, okay? But equally, right, if your Geordie accent is poor, like how I like that, a little bit of Geordie like that, right, quit focusing on that job in Vera, all right? Instead, nail your other accents and seek out castings where you can actually win. Because I promise you, if your Geordie accent's shit, you're never going to win. Because there'll be someone whose Geordie accent's better than you, or there'll be a real Geordie who will just get the job. Okay, Fanny loves the Geordie. It's better to be great at one thing than below average at many. Okay, and I see a lot of actors trying to spread themselves so thinly with all these accents. I work in voiceover nearly every day, and in 12 years of voiceover, I've had to do 2 accents. American, well, my own accent, American, and I did a Geordie accent once for a WD-40 commercial. That was it. In 12 years. Okay, and yet I work almost nearly every day, thank God. Yet so many actors want to come and they want to do a voice reel where within 10 seconds they've shown 10 different accents, and that confuses the hell out of anybody listening to their voice reel for what they are. They're not showing their core competencies. They're showing lots of different piles of shite. That they're not particularly, they're not particularly good at. Bobby's saying, do your American. So I'm doing an American animation at the moment, Bobby. So it's not real American. It's real over-the-top cartoon. Like, come on, man, let's fight. Come on. It's like really crazy American. That's kind of what I do quite well. Tony says, I think what helps here is knowing both our types and doing work that fulfills us most. Yeah, absolutely. It's about knowing what your core competencies are so you can actually focus on those things. But the story doesn't end there either. And don't worry, I'm gonna summarize all of what we're learning tonight at the end of this, and we'll have a little chat about it, okay? But I'm gonna give you the third remix of the Hare and the Tortoise. So the first one, okay, like I said, just to recap so far, the first one is that slow and steady doesn't always win the race. Slow and steady could win the race, but fast and consistent is always better. It's always going to win, okay? And the second moral of the story is that you need to play to your core competencies, all right? Fanny says she struggles knowing my core competencies, so I end up doing everything, thus getting nothing. Fanny, your core competencies are, without a doubt, improvisation and comedy. Without a doubt. Like, they really are. I can tell with the improvisations you post in the Acts on This Facebook group. You need to be focusing on that. But also, getting, rather than doing loads and different characters, get a couple absolutely nailed and do some more, like, slightly longer form improvs, or actually write and get some real scenes filmed with those characters, because some of them are hilarious. But try to do that a little bit, and then do high drama, and then a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Again, you're not focusing on one particular thing. So this is the Hare and the Tortoise version 4, all right? A really good one. By this time, okay, after that race, okay, the tortoise and the hare have become pretty good friends by now, and they did some thinking together. They both realised that the last race could have been run so much better. They decided to run the last race again, but this time, and this is the key, as a team, okay? They set off again, but this time the hare carried the tortoise to the riverbank. helping the tortoise get there much, much faster than ever before, okay? From there, the tortoise took over and swam the river with the hare on his back. So they reversed the roles, okay? The hare gets the tortoise there dead quick, tortoise gets the hare across the river. Once across the river, the hare again carried the tortoise. Okay, the pair reached the finishing line together. Both the tortoise and the hare felt a greater sense of satisfaction than they'd felt earlier, or I would suggest than ever before when they'd raced, okay? So what's the moral of this story then? Well, the moral of this story is that it's good to be individually brilliant and to have strong core competencies that we just looked at, but unless you're able to work in a team and harness each other's core competencies, Lee says he loves it, you will always perform below par. Now, it doesn't mean you won't perform, like okay, or you won't ever win a race, because you will. But you're always going to perform below par if you don't harness the competencies of other people. So let me just explain this a bit more. Teamwork is mainly about what I call situational leadership, okay? And this is where leaders will change. And I love the way I always say leaders create leaders. Leaders don't create followers, okay? So I think we can all be a leader within a group at various times. So what situational leadership is, it's letting the person with the relevant core competency for a situation take leadership. And those control freaks out there find this hard sometimes, particularly actors who want to direct, produce, write, film, fucking edit, everything. If I see another Twitter bio with an actor with actor / director / producer / writer / editor / this, that, it's like bullshit. You're fucking fake. That's what you are, because you can't possibly have all of those as core competencies where you're everything, all right? Or if you are, you're going to be below par at most of those things, okay? Loads of actors are trying to be jacks of all trades right now, and I see this time and time again, ruining what could be great projects, okay? And what I mean by that is, I see people doing film festivals and things, and they get 10 actors together and expect to be able to do great work. And that's not right, because the core competencies of those 10 actors is acting. It's nothing else, yet they try and film things and everything, and then they try and edit and put everything together, and actually they're below par, okay? So seek out others within the industry who have the core competencies that you are lacking, okay? And even for a control freak like me, I have to do this, okay? The reason I employ Chris Stone, the director, to film my Act on This TV interviews that I do in Media City, go and watch them if you've not seen them on actonthis.tv. Super high quality TV interviews. They're filmed on 3 cameras. We have great lighting, broadcast quality sound. My job, my core competency within those interviews is to be the interviewer. That's absolutely my job there, okay? Right? I will move furniture around and help set the setup and that kind of thing, but I pay someone else whose core competency is directing and what's called a DOP, a director of photography. That's Chris's job, to actually, film those interviews for me. More people doesn't always mean a better result either, okay? So put there on your screen, 10 actors who don't know how to use a camera still need a DOP. So you can't just suddenly go, right, I'm going to get all these actors together and we're going to do a great thing together. Well, you know what? No, you're not. You're going to do something below par if none of your core competencies is DOPing, directing, or the tech side of stuff. And I see people doing these 24, 48-hour film festivals, which I think are great because people are being proactive, but honest to God, I fucking cringe when I watch the finished result. And I'm like, wow, I would never want my name on that on the internet forever. You've got to be careful what people put out there, because if you're not in control of that upload, that goes out on the internet and you can't take it down. Okay, so just please look at your core competencies and harness each other's, okay, to actually produce something that isn't below par. Okay, your job as an actor, and you can have a secondary skill. I'm sure, you can focus on a couple of things. Maybe, you really do know how to use a camera because you specialized in that, and that's fine. But you certainly can't be an actor, a director, a producer, a writer, an editor, a sound engineer at the highest level. You just can't, okay, because you're not focusing on a core competency. Other lessons, okay, that we have learned from this then. What's Fanny saying? Industry people tell me that you can't just act, you need to learn to film and light and behind the cam. Yeah, You need to learn. So before you put it on your bio that you are everything, get some qualifications in those things. I don't think you possibly can win at all of them, but I think you know, the more experience you have seen competent people, you've watched competent people doing those jobs, the better you'll understand them, okay? So other lessons, right? Neither the tortoise or the hare gave up after failures in all of these versions, all right? The hare decided to work harder and put more consistent effort in. Okay, so that was the first thing he tried to do when he realized that he'd fallen asleep under the tree, okay? The tortoise changed his strategy because he was already working as hard as he could. So if you are genuinely working as hard as you can, okay, and you're like, right, I'm running this race the best of my ability, and you're not winning, and it's been 6 or 7 years, and you still don't have the agent you want, you still don't have the job that you want, you're still getting nowhere, we need to change the race for you, okay? We need to look at it differently and look at, you know, the race that you are running. And if that means you need to start marketing yourself differently, you need to start approaching people differently, you know, you need to start realizing more of what your core competencies are, that's what we've got to do. But that's what the tortoise did, because the tortoise could never beat the hare in a regular race. He had to put that river between him and the finish line because he knew he could swim that and he would beat the hare. So that's another lesson that we've learned. More lessons that we've learned. In the acting industry, right, when faced with failure, okay, sometimes it's appropriate to work harder and put in more consistent effort. I just mentioned that, okay? Sometimes it's appropriate to change the strategy and try a different approach, like I just mentioned, but sometimes it's appropriate to do both, okay? So sometimes you need to work harder and put in more consistent effort and also run a different race, okay? So I want people to be honest with me. Tricia said this is really helping me tonight. Like, what have you done so far this week? Like, I'll come on camera just for a second before I'll put up some more slides. I just want to know, seriously, like, what people have been doing this week to actually get further in their acting careers, and whether you have been putting in hard work and consistent work. How many hours today, like seriously, right, it comes down to this, how many hours today have you spent pissing about on Facebook, watching videos of other people having success, looking at Instagram posts of other people having success, getting envious, getting jealous? You know, what have you actually been wasting your time on today? And has it been 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? You know, have you been procrastinating? James says true. Applied for a new agent, says Brian. Great. Had a meeting with an agent this morning and got a message about a role in a student film. Well done, Steve. But a lot of people, and James edited his show reel, a lot of actors who get in touch with me are like, right, they send me an email like, oh, can you give me some advice? I don't really know, like, you know, I'm not happy. I'm really unfulfilled. I'm not getting anywhere. I've been at this for a year, 2 years, 3 years. Some people 6, 7, 8 years. I'm still getting nowhere. You know, what would you suggest? I'm like, well, be honest with me. This weekend, how much time did you spend working on yourself, working on your career, crafting emails, editing show reels, working on your social media presence, applying for roles, you know, collaborating with other people, reaching out to other people, other filmmakers, other actors, other directors, watching industry interviews like the ones that I do on Acts on This, listening to industry podcasts like the ones that I do, you know, tweeting directors, tweeting casting directors, putting letters together. How long have you been doing that for? And then, you know, in comparison, how long have you been watching Stranger Things on Netflix? Or how long did you say, oh, okay, I'm just not feeling quite like it today. I'll open a bottle of Prosecco. It's Saturday, so I'll just have a drink. I should let myself off. Because they're the people generally who are complaining the most, okay? If you are happy and you're, you know, totally fulfilled and you're having a bottle of wine on a Saturday night and you're watching Stranger Things and you're going out with your friends and you're doing all this stuff, then you've won. That's it. There's nothing else, you know, to do. That's fantastic. If you're super fulfilled and you're happy, that's fine. But if you're not and you're complaining, you've got to stop this shit and you've got to start being faster and more consistent, because slow and steady ain't working for you anymore. And sometimes people are just slow and they're not even steady. They're just up and down and spurts and spats. And then they question, oh, why am I getting nowhere? You know, because you're spending half your time looking at other people having success on Instagram and getting jealous about it and then feeling like shit, which zaps all your motivation. And for every second you are spending doing that, you are spending one less second on yourself and what you can achieve. So James says he's inconsistent. So we need to get some consistency, James. And, that fast and consistent behavior that we saw in the version 2 remix of this story is super, super valuable. I'm just going to put these slides up again for a couple of other lessons. Okay, so the Hare and the Tortoise also learned another lesson that's vital for actors. Just sort of touched on it with the Instagram post there, okay? When we stop competing against a rival and instead start competing against the situation, we perform much better. So start competing with the situation and not other actors. James says he loves these Periscopes, by the way. Well, thank you, James. I love doing them, man. I love doing them. This is like oxygen for me. Yeah, we need to stop competing with other people and looking at what they have. Who's just be honest, who's had a look at something this week and felt shit about themselves? I think people complain without realising that it's got connection and attention. It's connection and attention they're after, says Tony. Yeah, definitely. Caroline says me. So she has. Lucy says me. And just think, how many minutes? Has it just been a minute, Caroline and Lucy and Lee saying yeah as well? Has it been a couple of minutes that you've spent doing that? Or has it been hours? So I need to take myself more seriously and start taking actions more consistently. I didn't catch the username for that one, but yeah, that's absolutely it. It's consistent action. We are what we do consistently, guys. Our habits absolutely create our lifestyle for us. If I was in a room and I said, right, everybody stand up here. Stand up for me if you work out more than 3 times a week. I swear it'd be fucking obvious, those who stood up, if they worked out 3 times a week, because I could see it within them. I could go, yeah, you know what? I can tell you do, because you're in good shape. Equally, if I said, guys, stand up if you have 5 takeouts a week, and those people who stood up, I could see in them, without them even saying that they'd had 5 takeouts a week, because we are what we consistently do. So if you are consistently looking at Instagram posts and Twitter posts and feeling shit and bad about yourself, then, that's ultimately kind of what you're going to become, a bitter, twisted, very fragile, insecure person. And you've got to look at where that comes from. Does that come from your upbringing? Does it, did your mum and dad? And this modern parenting is very, very popular, where we tell our kids they're the best, they can do anything, they're amazing. And I'm all up for that. But then when they get in the real world and suddenly they go, shit, I was told my entire childhood that I was the best, I could do anything, I'm amazing. And thus I didn't really work that hard because I was just always told I was the best. And, and kids getting trophies for fucking 7th place. My nephew came like last in the running race, got a trophy. I'm like, I love the concept, but there ain't a trophy for 2nd place in the real world. There's certainly not a trophy for 7th place or 8th place, but we bring children up to believe that they're amazing at everything. And then when they get in the real world and there is competition, and there's that hare who's fucking quicker than you, and they're beating you and running past you because you're the tortoise because you haven't really worked growing up, then then suddenly you find it hard. Okay, so you need to look at that. Where's these insecurities come from? Whose approval are you looking for when you feel insecure about stuff? Because I've said this on many Periscopes, guys, but you've got to become your biggest fan. Like, you've got to be your biggest fan. Like, nobody else. It's not an arrogance, right? It's a confidence. You've got to be your biggest fan. I am my biggest fan, like, seriously, because if I'm not, who else is going to be that? And it's not an arrogance and like, I'm better than anybody. It's just a self-belief to go, I can absolutely do what I want to do. Our potential is limitless, okay? Where does that and narcissism end and begin? So narcissism is where basically you can't back it up, Fanny. So you just think you're amazing, you're great, and do you know what? This is the difference for you. This is what narcissism is. Narcissism, for me, is basically either thinking you're the best or trying to become the best by tearing other people down. All right, I want to become the best at what I do. Build the biggest fucking, online acting, community in the world, the most positive, community, a force for good on this planet, okay? International. I want to do that, though, by just building that thing. I don't want to tear other people's businesses down in order for me to become number one. So, if you were an architect, you would want to build the biggest building in the city by building the biggest building in the city, not by tearing someone else's building down. That's the difference between confidence and narcissism. okay, where people are like, are just out. They have to make themselves feel better about themselves by tearing other people down. In my book, anyway, that's what I believe. Caroline says, if you want to learn about narcissism, look up Melanie Tonya Evans. Okay, I don't know who that is. The better people we work with and support, the better we become, says DF Acting. 100%. We are the average of the 5 people we hang out with, guys, with 100%. And I say this all the time. You will have heard this so many times. You hang out with 5 broke, whinging actors, you'll be the 6th. Okay? You hang out with 5 motivated, inspired actors who are fast and consistent, you will be the 6th. Okay? So you've got to really be careful of who you choose to hang out with. You really, really do. So in summary, I'm going to just put another slide up, and then I want to talk about just one other concept that's going to help you with this. So in summary, okay, the fast and consistent will always beat the slow and the steady. Okay? Working to your competencies, pooling resources, and working as a team will always beat individual performers. Okay, so you're only going to be able to get so far on your own, right? I learned this in business, in my acting career, in many, many things. I would not be able to create the interviews that I do for Act on This without hair and makeup girls, lighting. Well, I shouldn't be sexist, they're hair and makeup people, but they are girls. Lighting, a DOP, a venue. I couldn't do it all on my own. I just can't. Okay, so I had to bring in more and more people on board. But that didn't start overnight. It didn't happen just straight away. I built up for 6 years before I could actually develop the resources to employ those people. Okay, I started off very basically because I was fast and consistent. I didn't go slow and steady. Good evening, Dawn. I was fast and consistent, and I just acted quickly. And I'm gonna introduce you to a concept at the end of this that's going to help you to understand when you need to be fast and when you need to be patient. Okay. So yeah, working to your competencies, pooling resources, and working as a team will always be individual performers. Okay. And then the last point there, what I mentioned before, never give up when faced with failure. Okay. That's what we learned from the tortoise today. He didn't give up when he failed on that first race. He went, wait a minute, I need to change this race if I'm going to win. And that's exactly what he did. And then finally, compete against the situation, not against the rival. I love that, okay? Because effectively, we're all kind of in this together, guys, Acting is such a collaborative process. Learn from all the other actors around you. Watch as many actors as you can. We said before, Fanny says, you've got to have a bit of an understanding of the other areas, even if they're not your core competencies. That's great. Watch other people who are superb DOPs, superb directors. Watch them work so you understand how you can make their job easier as an actor. That's going to help you. But you can't expect to be an actor, a director, a producer, an editor, a writer, and everything and have them all as your core competencies. You just can't. It's just unrealistic. So always compete against a situation, not against a rival. Okay, you're the only competition you have. Look in the mirror, right? Your own competition. That's it. It's the only competition that you've got. So I want to end on this, and I'm just going to talk a little bit more. I'll come on camera and we'll do some Q&A. But this great quote, okay, by Ken Blanchard, he's an American author. He says, none of us is as smart as all of us. All right, and I love that. None of us is as smart as all of us, okay? So no matter where you are in your race, okay, you've got to learn from the other people who are running it, and we're all running this race together. For many, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. But there are definitely times where you need to act fast and be consistent as opposed to be slow and steady. So I want to introduce you to this, okay? So people say to me, right, I don't get it. I tell people to be patient all the time, and go, what? It takes a long time to build a great acting career because it just does. You can't just do it overnight unless you're so lucky and you get plucked out of drama school, which has happened to a couple of people I know, and suddenly they end up in massive dramas. For most of us, it takes years to build a good acting career where you can do it full time. That's the only thing that you do, okay, and that's enough to earn the money to support yourself. Equally though, so I'm saying you've got to be patient for that. Equally, you've got to be fast and consistent every single day. So we've got what I class as macro, okay, so the bigger picture. Macro patience, okay, this was taught to me by a guy, a mentor of mine, Gary. It says macro patience. So on the big scheme of things, you've got to be patient, okay? You can't want everything yesterday. It's very tempting to be like that. I'm definitely like that myself. But you've got to have macro patience. But then on a micro level, as in your day to day, this hour, right, this minute, that's where you need to be fast and consistent. So we're looking at slow and steady or macro patience overall. But on a micro level, that's where we've got to be fast and we've got to be consistent, okay? So if you have an idea of something like, I'd love to film, I've got a great idea for a sketch, actually. I'd love to film that. Go out, find people quickly who have core competencies that can help you. So you're going to need a DOP, you're going to need a director, okay? Because you're not going to be able to do it all on your own, remember. Your core competency might just be comedy, might be the actor, okay? You've got to find those other people who are going to complement that. But you've got to do that quickly. There's no point in having an idea in your head. How many people here have had ideas in their head for years they've still not acted on? Ideas for a book, ideas for a song, ideas for a sketch, ideas for a film. You still haven't acted on it. Act on this. It's the whole reason I called the website. Act on this, because people aren't acting on shit quick enough. Caroline says yes. Steve said, let's have a look. So yeah, James is laughing, yeah. So many people have, you still haven't done it because you're not being fast and consistent on a micro level. When I've got an idea for something and I'm like, right, I'm going to do a new, Bobby says mind blown, I'm going to do a new podcast or something like that. I have an idea, bang, I do it. This Periscope tonight, I decided at like 11 o'clock this morning, I was going to do this Periscope on these remixes of the Hare and the Tortoise. That was 11 o'clock. By 1:30, bang, this entire slide deck was built, was ready. I was ready to go, okay? I didn't think, yeah, that'd be good. I'll maybe do that in 3 weeks. No, just fucking fast and consistent, okay? Quick, boom. Patient on a macro level. I know, for me to get where I want to be, build this business, have the acting career I want, it's going to take years, okay? I'm just working towards it, consistently putting out as best content as I possibly can every single day. But on a micro level, I'm fast, okay? And some days I don't want to be fast. There's some days I wake up tired as hell, don't want to drag my ass to the gym in the morning, don't want to do this, but I just know I do it. I've got to get up and do it, hold myself accountable. Tony says, do I set business hours for myself? No, Tony, I don't. But what I do is, this is something that, so there's a few people I mentor in business as well, online business, nothing to do with acting. And do you know what? They're procrastinating day in, day out. There's one person who's particularly, talented, who's had an idea for 2 years, okay? And yet, they still haven't done the thing that I was telling them to do 2 years ago. And they've dragged it out and out and out. And they maybe done a little bit here and a little bit there, but they've never really done it. And they could have done it, I swear, 2 weeks. 2 weeks they could have done this. But they've managed to drag it out for 2 years and still not complete it. What I do is I commit quickly. So when I started these Periscopes, guys, right, this was 18 months ago. This is Periscope 172, okay? When Periscope came out, 18 months ago, I went, wow, what a powerful platform. I now have the power to broadcast live video to unlimited amounts of people, and do it from my phone. It was incredible. I'm a bit more sophisticated now, so I've got a better camera, I've got a better mic set up. I used to do it from this, literally from this, okay? I didn't think, oh, that's a good idea. I might use that in 6 months or a year. I went, fuck it, I'm going to do it right now. And I did a Periscope to no one. Literally, no one watched. I think maybe one person joined halfway through and then they quit. Okay, you can go and watch that one Periscope on actonthis.tv in the Periscope section. It'll be the first one I ever did. You can watch that. Now, what I did is I committed to doing 30 of those, one a day, every day for 30 days. So I created a positive habit, because I do a lot of science about positive psychology, and I know 30 days, it takes 30 days to produce a positive habit, okay, where you actually follow through with that habit and you make it part of your life, as opposed to a lot of people give up by about day 21, 22 when they hit something called habit gravity. They don't know that by day 27, 28 they would reach something called escape velocity, and that actual habit will become part of their life, and they give up just before they win, okay? So if you want to create a positive habit, 30 days. So I committed to that 30 days and I did it quickly. I went, I'm not going to procrastinate, I'm not going to think about it, this is me, 30 days, done. Not only did I create that positive habit in myself, I created that 30-day positive habit in my audience. So the people watching these scopes went, oh, okay, this is part of my life as well. Thus, we created a movement together. But I was quick about it. And then everything that I want to do when I go, right, I've got an idea for this or that, I'm as quick as I can possibly be about it. And sometimes, I'm fallible, I'll procrastinate because fear might get in the way occasionally. I'm like, oh, okay, what if I fail? Oh, and I'll think about it for a few days. And I'll go for it anyway. But you've got to be quick and consistent, fast and consistent on a micro level. And the big picture, you've got to be patient as hell, okay? Because it's going to take a long time to achieve anything great. It really, really is. So, Fanny, I know you are doing... what were you doing? Improv Dare and Share was a hashtag you had on Twitter, and you were dead enthusiastic and you launched it. and then you were like, oh, I got really downhearted because 4 people got involved with it on the first time I did it, and then you like probably gave up. I don't know if you're still doing it. I'm not seeing you do it since, but you probably lost traction, lost heart because you didn't get instant success. That, was never going to happen. You were never going to get instant success, okay? So you say you're still very much doing it. Brilliant, because you must. It might take you 2 years to get consistent viewers and consistent, people partaking in it consistently. But that time's going to pass anyway. For everyone who wants to start something new, just think about this. That time is going to pass anyway. You can sit on your ass feeling sorry for yourself and watching Netflix, or you can get up off your ass, start something great, and fucking be on Netflix in 2 years' time, because that time is going to pass anyway, all right? Friend of mine today, don't want to get a bit morbid, but awesome guy. I went to school with him. Not super close friends, but an associate of mine who we have kept in touch with since school was diagnosed with a blastoma, a brain tumor, like 2 years ago. Got over it. It came back. Went kind of into remission, but then it was time to do a bucket list type thing. Didn't want to give people any, kind of time limit on what he'd been told of his life expectancy, but it wasn't a great outlook. He just posted a video before saying that it's back even more aggressive, and that's it. He does it again. He's not going to put a time limit on it, but it's now like it's very critical. And I'm like, man, fucking hell, this guy's 34. He's my age. And I promise you, if I could click my fingers and that brain tumor went from his brain and he was healthy again tomorrow, he wouldn't fucking procrastinate about anything, because he would understand the gift that he's got. And I try and remind myself of that every single day. And you have all got that gift. I hope there's no one on here in that situation, all right? Or anyone listening to this, I hope you're not in this situation if you're watching on the replay or you're listening on the audio experience. But, when you can appreciate your mortality like that, Lucy says it puts things into perspective. It definitely does. I'm so grateful, to the point where I actually feel quite guilty almost of like going, oh my God, I've got so much potential, and I've got this eye condition that I'm living with, I've got, 10, 15 years of vision left. But again, that makes me act fast and consistently. It motivates the shit out of me. I can label it as a tragedy and feel sorry for myself, or I can go, no, I'm gonna be so grateful for the vision I've got now, and I'm gonna take action. So if you've got fuck all excuse and you're perfectly healthy, please don't sit around or just continue to be slow and steady. Slow and steady on the macro, fast and consistent on the micro, okay? So I think there's just a lot we can learn from what is a simple fable, all right? And I think it's just a different way to look at things. Slow and steady doesn't always win the race. I am seeing people in the acting industry who are acting faster than you and more consistently than you, who might not be as talented as you, have a shit ton more success than you because you aren't working. Will Smith said, hard work will always beat talent when talent isn't working hard. So just ask yourself genuinely, how hard are you working? Or are you addicted to the struggle? Are you getting up every day and going to bed with nothing left in the tank because you've given it everything? Or are you going to bed going, oh, you know what? I spent another 2 hours wasting bullshit time on Facebook today or Instagram, feeling envious and bad about myself because I'm looking at these airbrushed pieces of shit on Instagram, this unattainable beauty, and I want to be like that. Fuck me. Why am I not rich? Why am I not famous? Oh, I'm useless. I'm a bad person. Bullshit. There's 7.7 billion people on this planet right now. If you live in the UK or America and you have a roof over your head, you are in the top 1 percentile of the world just by living in a developed country. All right? So what is your excuse? You don't have any. So we've got to be fast, consistent, but equally we've got to be patient. So I hope that's useful, guys. Doesn't happen every day, says Tony, but I sleep so much better when I go to bed knowing I gave it my all. You do. It's a beautiful state to be in when you're like, you know what, sometimes, I will sit here, guys, when I'm not working on as an actor or as a voiceover artist, and I swear, if I want to do a little documentary to show you guys behind the scenes of what I actually do, but I'm not doing this to blow my own trumpet, but I will sit here from 10 in the morning. I'll get up at 6:15, go to the gym, I'll get back about 9, have breakfast, and I will sit from 10 in the morning until like 10:30 at night. So, this morning I started at 10. I was putting this presentation together for you guys. I'm recording a brand new podcast for you guys and an ebook called The 7 Secrets of Casting Success Volume 2. And I'll go to bed tonight peaceful, going, you know what, I couldn't have put any more into my life today. And I try every day, to look at the bigger picture. It's bigger than me. And I'm like, I've still got to be patient as long as I'm putting good work out. And I said this the other day, you've got to, to get big, you've got to be focus on the little things. Okay, so for instance, for my business or Acts on This, for me to grow this and for you guys to want to be more of a part of it and actually kind of relate to me, I have to focus on the little things, and that will be replying to every tweet I get, every email I get, telling people how grateful I am. And I'm super grateful for everyone on here who's watching live now and giving me your time at like nearly 10 o'clock at night. I mean, that's a fucking really big deal. Seriously, that you are here. Steve says he feels guilty for a lazy day. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, sometimes if you're feeling guilty, Steve, you definitely could have done more. I mean, it's a great sign. Because that, guilt's a really positive emotion sometimes, guys, right? Don't feel bad when you feel guilty, because when you feel guilty, it means that your standards are higher than the action that you took. So if you did something that was bad, then, and you feel guilty about it, then at least your standards are higher now than they were when you did that thing. So you become a better person. So guilt is not a bad emotion. Envy is not a bad emotion either. Envy can be used as a compass to show you where you want to go. I feel envious sometimes when I see someone with what I have and I go, brilliant. Okay, here's a little alarm going off saying, you're on the right track, Ross, because that guy's got what you want and you're heading towards that thing. So envy is a really useful emotion. It was hardworking people always beat talent. Oh yeah, so the quote from Will Smith was hard work will always beat talent when talent isn't working hard. Here's Merrick watching from the US. This has been a really enlightening positivity experience for him. Cheers, Merrick. Awesome, man. Yeah, I got your Facebook message. That's fantastic, man. If you're out in the US, I mean, you're doing great things. So yeah, keep on keeping on, guys. But let's not be too slow and too steady. We can be that in the bigger picture, but let's be faster and consistent, because we're always going to win. I can't believe I haven't been on this before now, says Lee. Lee, where have you been, mate? You only fucking missed 171 of these, okay? You can go back and watch all the replays, though, or you can listen to the audio. You can listen to the audio on the Act on This TV audio experience on iTunes or on Stitcher.com. If you go to Stitcher.com or iTunes, search for Act on This TV, all one word, I put all of the audio, because I know people can't always watch the video replay that's available on actonthis.tv, the main website, so I put the audio up on iTunes so that you can you can just listen to it when you're walking the dog or you're in the gym or whatever you're doing. Caroline wants the quote again. The quote, so you can write it down, Caroline, was hard work always beats talent when talent isn't working hard. So that's ultimately why a lot of bitter, twisted actors will go, oh my God, he's so shit. How did he get that job? Oh my God, look, he's on the TV. He's so shit. I'm so much better than that. Oh God, I could easily do that. Well, you know what? You're not doing it because he fucking worked harder than you. Simple as that. He worked harder than you. Even if that was buttering up someone in the know, so they gave him the part, he still changed the race. He did what the tortoise did. He changed the race. He went, maybe I don't have the talent to win, so I'm going to do something else. I'm going to make a connection with somebody else, or I'm going to go out with the daughter of a producer. Or whatever it is, okay? He changed the race and fucking beat you. So let's not be bitter about it. Just work harder and more consistently. You ain't got any excuse. You might have the talent, but you have to get yourself in front of the right people, says Steve. Yeah, you do. There's no such thing as right place, right time either, guys, okay? That is actually opportunity meets preparedness. Basically, you've got to make yourself as prepared as possible to take the opportunities when they come up, because you can be in a place and get an opportunity, but you aren't prepared to take it. I gave Sir Ian McKellen my card on Monday, says Brian. Amazing. I would love to have Ian McKellen on for an interview. I think he'd be great. He'd be really, really good. I worked with Derek Jacobi on last time in Halifax. He's really good mates with Ian McKellen. I was so tempted to go, listen, I want you on, but can you put a word in? That's awesome. That's really, really cool. Well, hopefully something will come of that, Brian. I think it was Brian who said that. Which is great. Caroline loves that show. Yeah, Last Tango is really, really good. It's great to work with. Did an episode with Anne Reid and Derek Jacobi. They're just so amazing. Really, really just grounded, lovely people as well, which is nice. You need to get Peter Carroll on for an interview or something. Yeah, Peter runs Thinking Actors at Media City, an acting class. I spoke to Peter quite a lot. He's a good guy, which is good. Caroline saw Last Tango. Yeah, it's on my show reel. Yeah, appreciate it. Do you offer any one-to-one advice? It's really kind of like opening the Facebook group, James. So if you're not part of the Facebook group, I mean, I'll always reply to emails, but it takes me ages. I get a lot, so it can sometimes take me 2 or 3 weeks to get back. And a lot of the questions are sometimes very similar or the same. What I ask everybody to do is join the Facebook group. If you're listening to this and you're watching it now and you're not part of the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/act on this TV. Okay, it's basically Act on This TV everywhere. Okay, if you ever try to look for me on any platform, Act on This TV, you'll find it. But there's a Facebook page on Facebook, which isn't where you want to ask these questions. We've got a private Facebook group. Okay, so come into the group. Don't leave them on the page because they'll get missed. Come into the group. Which is facebook.com/groups/act on this TV. Ask your question. I'll jump in, ask give my answer, but you'll also be able to harness the core competencies of another 4,500 actors and just people in the industry in that group. They're not all actors. They're like, there's some directors in there. There was a second AD from Tiger Aspect, the production company, joined last week. He does some incredible comedy for Tiger Aspect. Tricia said the group is great. I think it's super helpful, and it's really it's just a fucking real good force for good. It's a real positive group. I have zero tolerance to negativity. Anyone wants to focus on any of the shit, I'll delete you and I'll block you. I don't care. Not having it. Just not having it. For every minute you spend focusing on a casting that's exploiting someone or this, that, and the other, you're not happy with the fee. Oh, look how terrible this casting is. Bullshit. You're just spending time throwing it away. When you've spent 2 hours today commenting about how terrible this casting is that someone's put out, when you could have spent 2 hours on your own career. So we don't have that. We don't have that at all. We just have positive, decent stuff that I want people to focus on, so they get further in their acting career faster, as opposed to focusing on what's lacking in their life. Okay, because if you get more of what you focus on, and if you're going to focus on problems, you're going to have more of them. Okay, if you're going to focus on what you've got and be grateful for that, and you're going to focus on what you want, you're going to get more of that. Okay. So yes, James says sounds good. So make sure you're active in that group and you come and join, James. That's awesome. So I'm going to be back on Monday, guys, for a Motivation and Mind Hacks Periscope. That's what I call Monday nights. Motivation and Mind Hacks is a personal development Periscope for actors and just for any human being, basically. If you're a human being on this planet, you're going to benefit from it. It's going to help you build a better version of you. So join me for that 9 p.m. on Monday. Anyone got any? I'll do a little bit of Q&A before we go. Give you like 2 or 3 minutes. Anyone got anything else you want to ask, or you're not sure about? Anything to do with Act on This, the industry, acting, voiceover, anything, just anything. Type your question in now, and I'll try and help you with that. If not, like I say, the Facebook group's a really valuable place to hang out and a valuable place to be. Okay, I think it's the most positive, knowledgeable group for actors on Facebook. Meet up on Saturday, Lucy says. Yeah, absolutely. So meet up on Saturday. So for those who don't know, I do an in-person meetup as well through the group. It's this Saturday, the 1st of April, April Fool's Day, but this isn't an April Fool's. It's on at Home Theatre, which is like a 2-minute walk from Deansgate train station in Manchester. And it's going to be taking place 11 a.m. till about 1 p.m. We just have coffee, cake, acting chat. Everyone mucks in, helps each other, gives advice, tells everything that's going on in the industry. Sometimes a lot of information is shared there that isn't shared publicly. People talking about auditions they've had recently, scripts they've read, for TV that might have parts in that other people can then get in touch with their agents and say, hey, met this actor. They were seen for this thing. They told me there's a part in it for this type of character. I think I suit that. Could you get in touch with this casting director and, put me forward? It's good. It's really good. How do you advise me working on what my casting type is? Marek, so what you want to do for that? I mean, self-awareness is critical in this industry, knowing where you are and what you fit in. And it's also being realistic. We want to kind of pretend we're something we're not. For years, I wanted to, portray myself as I don't know, I was always I'd love to do, the all-action hero type thing, I wanted the leading man. I soon learned by the castings I was being seen for that the people were seeing me as kind of either the sidekick, so the supporting role, or they were seeing me as a professional. So I got saw for a lot of coppers, lawyers, doctors, that kind of stuff. So I was okay, well, other people are seeing me in these professional kind of capacities. That's obviously how I come across. Let's, get my headshots so that they strengthen that core competency. I'll make sure that my show reel is showing that side of me off, because if that's what people are employing me for, then that's probably what I'm being seen as, and that's probably one of my strengths. There's no reason why I can't branch out later down the line, and go, actually, I can be the all-action hero. And I try to do that in Year of Spies. Hopefully, if you got yearofspies.com and watch the January episode, I kind of do that all right. But initially, when I was making, ground, and I just wanted to actually, get some credits, I was like, right, well, I need to focus on what people are seeing me as here. So you've got to have that self-awareness, Marek. But a great way to do it is post your main headshot or a couple of headshots in the Act on This Facebook group and go, guys, what roles would you see me as? Because sometimes how you see yourself is very different to how other people see you. Other than preparedness, what's a common flaw you see younger actors make that you wish they knew? Well, patience. Like I say, macro patience, definitely, because they give up too quickly. And when they don't get results straight away, Tony, they feel like shit. And thus they develop limiting beliefs about themselves. So anything that you're struggling with, generally, from a positive psychology, a science-backed positive psychology perspective, is because you have limiting beliefs that have been formed by previous experiences. Some of those experiences could have been a decade ago, 15 years ago when you were at school, and they're still limiting you today, okay? When you realize that the only person stopping you really from achieving what you want is yourself, and you're getting in your own way, and generally that's because of fear, you can get, you can start to dismantle these limiting beliefs. Where can you read about limiting beliefs, James? Just do a Google on dispelling limiting beliefs or something. I do, and this is, again, I'm not doing a huge plug here, but if you go to bulletproofactor.com, I do a super intensive 5-week program twice a year for just 50 actors or so. It's going to open again in June. It transforms people's lives. No bullshit. It's all science-backed. It's not airy-fairy bullshit. It's real science-backed positive psychology backed up by decades of research. Not that I've done, but by some of the smartest people in the world have done. Not that I'm not one of the smartest people in the world. But go to bulletproofactor.com if you're interested in enrolling on that. You can look at testimonials from people, some quite well-known actors and actresses as well, who've already been through the program. If you've got limiting beliefs, that program will absolutely destroy them, and you will find yourself developing a sickening, unshakable confidence where you do become your biggest fan. Like, seriously, you have to be your biggest fan, guys. You've got to be your biggest fan. It's not an arrogance or I'm better than anybody else. It's just a belief in yourself. Is it an online course, Ross, says Lee? Yeah, it is, absolutely. So it's a 5-week online course. You can either do a self-study version, Lee, on your own, and you get access to 33 videos. It takes 5 weeks to do. You do a unit a week for 5 weeks. Or you can do a VIP version of it where you jump online and we actually get on a live coaching call. That's limited. The VIP one is limited to just 50 actors because I only have a limit of 50 people on these live conference calls, and you jump on and we can all see and hear each other because it's done via webcams, and we have really in-depth and deep dives every single week, once a week for 5 weeks. Some of those calls on the last intake in December were 5 hours long. How do you choose who gets on the 50? First 50. Simple as that. So there's two options. You basically pay for the self-study version, or you pay for the VIP version, and when the places run out, They always run out, though. But it's 5. When I do it for those 5 weeks, it's 5 of the most rewarding weeks of my year, and I do it just twice. So bulletproofactor.com if you want to find out more and get on the waiting list. Voiceover work. What's the first step for getting into this area of work? Okay, cool. And then, Sam, I've seen your question about agents. Okay, so I'll answer that as well. Voiceover work. Okay, if you go to actonthis.tv, click on the menu icon, which is 3 little lines, a search bar will pop out, okay, with another menu on. Type in the word voiceover, all one word, in that, and you're going to see a lot of voiceover articles that I wrote. I used to run a training company for voiceover artists called VO Focus. I've closed that down now because it got too busy. I just couldn't fit it all in, and so I had to close that down. But the first thing I would say for anybody wanting to get into voiceover, again, it's just like being an actor. Find out where you fit in terms of the voiceover industry is like this wide, just like the acting industry is, okay? And you will probably, if you want to work consistently, need to figure out where you fit into a size, piece of the voiceover industry this big. So for me, it's very much kind of young, enthusiastic. My voiceover voice, very much like that. Subway, eat fresh. It's quite an upbeat, welcome to Vodafone, kind of voice. It's not. I'm never going to be seen for super scientific or charity stuff. It's all quite upbeat kind of things. So it's younger products. Generally, you will be the voice of products you would buy because you're the target audience of those products. So if I'm an ad agency and I want to sell a product to a particular client, particular audience of, say, 25-year-olds, 25-year-old males who would buy this product, I'm probably going to get a 25-year-old male to do the voiceover because the audience is going to relate to that voice, and then they're going to be more likely to buy that product. So try and figure out where you fit. Caroline says you've got a voice of an angel. Thanks, Caroline. Try and find out where you fit in the industry, okay? And then what you've got to do, it's so much better, guys, to, rather than going a mile wide and like an inch deep, so much better to go an inch wide and a mile deep into that. So I get employed consistently every other day or so for that one voice. Literally that one voice. I hardly ever have to change it. Because people know that I'm that guy who they can come to for an upbeat, friendly, approachable, general northern read, as opposed to me trying to be a jack of all trades, like I mentioned before. If they want to get a Geordie, bar one time, they'll just go and get a Geordie. They won't ask me to do that. So find out where you fit in the industry first of all, and then you're going to need a voice reel. People fuck up their voice reels all the time because they don't understand what needs to be in a voice reel. Again, on actonthis.tv, search for the word voiceover, and you'll see articles on there that I've written telling you exactly what has to be in a voice reel, and also you're going to see me record a voice reel, so show you how you can do it at home. If you don't want, you want to get practice in, and you don't want to spend money yet on a studio, you can see how you can record that using free software, and then you can also hear my voice reels in there. Your voice reels should consist. I've seen your question, Sam. I'm going to talk about that, mate. Your voice reel should consist of 7 pieces, okay, and they are. You can write this down. They're going to be 3 commercials, okay? They're going to be 2 corporate pieces, and by corporate, we mean things like as if you were going to do a company explain a video, or, say, for instance, if you went to the About Us page on your favorite brand, okay? So, I don't know, say you're a mid-20s woman and you buy a lot of clothes from ASOS. You would go to ASOS's website, click on the About Me page or the About Us page, and take one paragraph from that, and that would be a corporate piece of voiceover. It might say, hi, welcome to ASOS. We're responsible for blah, 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 blah. That would be a corporate piece. So you need 2 of those. So 3 commercials for products that you could genuinely see yourself advertising, 2 corporate pieces, and then 2 documentary pieces. Documentary pieces are quite hard to find. They're going to be documentaries, so they're going to be the narration on a documentary. You're going to have to probably get on a documentary on YouTube and transcribe the narration. So for me, I think the documentaries I've done documentaries like professionally in the past. I did one called what was it? It was one about brides. Not Don't Tell the Bride. It's basically brides who went on hen dos, and then they let their boyfriends watch their hen do because cameras followed them. It was like raucous, but it was great. It was really, really good. Because I was young. I'm 34, but got kind of youngish, mid-20s, mid-30s voice that appealed to the sort of audience who would watch hens going and being raucous on a hen do. So find a couple of documentaries you think you would voice, transcribe them from YouTube, and then you want to just record your reel with those 7 pieces in. For more information, check out actonthis.tv, but that's how you would start to get into voiceover, okay? Just like you would with an actor, you need to get a show reel, you need to get a voice reel as a voiceover artist. Sam is talking about leaving agents and how you can leave amicably, so you don't want to leave in a bad way. He says you might have to leave 2 for one main one. No worries, Jamie. Cheers, mate. Thanks for the question. So this is always tough. Leaving an agent is always going to be like breaking up from your girlfriend or your boyfriend. It just is, because as humans, we feel emotion and guilt unless your agent screwed you over and you're like, right, screw you, I'm out of here. For me in the past, I think it shows a lot of respect if you don't do it over text or email. It shows bravery for a start, and it shows integrity if you can phone or go in if you're local to that agent. And you've got to remember that it's purely on a professional basis. So if you leave an agent, it doesn't mean your friendship has to deteriorate. It doesn't mean that you have to hate each other or people are going to have to get bitter. Okay, it might just be that something isn't working for whatever reason. And sometimes agents will be like, phew, actually, you know what? I was going to say something as well. You haven't worked for 8 months and, and we're kind of struggling. Something isn't gelling. You're not getting seen. I don't know if I've got the contacts that you need now, or I might have exhausted all my contacts. You've got to remember that it's nothing personal. It's purely business, and you've got to be professional. And that is life. You're going to change agents. You are. Some people once or twice, other people 3, 4, 5 times. And it's never easy. But you've just got to be grateful appreciative. Even if an agent's not been that great for you, there's still going to be some things that you're really grateful for. They've tried. They've maybe introduced you to some key people who you're now really grateful to have in your circle. You want to say, listen, genuinely, thank you so much for everything you've done. This is nothing to do, no reflection on you as a person, or on your business or your agency. It's purely that, for me, I need a change. I feel that, I've stagnated. I feel it's going to inject me with some motivation and some more inspiration if I'm with somebody new. Maybe you're moving from a Manchester agent to a London agent and you're like, what, I want to tap into London. And I feel having a northern agent just isn't cutting it, because casting directors, without a doubt, and this is just a fact, right? Slag the industry off if you want or not. Some casting directors in the south so much prefer to be working with actors who have London agents and have a base in the south, because it's just a lot easier, okay? So maybe you're moving down south and you're like, right, I've got to get a London agent because I'm no longer in Manchester. That would make a lot of sense. Or you might be moving to Manchester and, you want to get a northern agent because they're going to have better connections up north. But you just got to remember, ultimately, it's just business. If you were a plumber, you would have no qualms probably about going and getting your pipes from a different supplier if they could get you them cheaper or could get you a better deal. If you think there's an agent out there who can get you more work and a better deal, it's just business. So yeah, just remember that. But it's not easy, Sam. It's still going to be hard, but kill them with kindness, buddy. Kill them with appreciation, gratitude. People can't be angry at you when you're telling them how grateful you are for them. And it's genuine, It's genuine. You will be grateful because without them, you wouldn't know what you now know, whether that's good or bad. You've learned something from being with that agent. It's a positive. You've got to look at that. So yeah, good luck. But let us know in the Facebook group how you do. So I'll call it a day, guys. We've gone on for quite a bit tonight, but I hope that's useful. To summarise that story for Hare and the Tortoise, remember, macro patience, micro speed, okay? So make sure you are consistent this week and you are acting quickly on things that you think are going to be able to help you, because slow and steady will not always win the race, okay? So appreciate you. For those, because there's loads of new people on here tonight, I'm just going to play you again. I did this on the last Periscope, but I'm just going to play you, if I've got it lined up, a clip of an interview I did with a great director, a Coronation Street director who's BAFTA nominated, called Jordan Hogg. Bobby wants the American accent one more time. Bobby, I'm gonna leave you in anticipation and say if you join the next Periscope, I'll do it at the start of the next one. So I'll hold you to ransom there. Thanks, Ross. It's been useful, says Lee. Appreciate it. I'm going to play you just a minute little trailer of this, guys. It's a great interview, one of the most vulnerable interviews I've ever done. But for those who don't know, I do an awful lot of interviews with some incredible people from the acting industry here in the UK, some of the biggest casting directors, the biggest actors, producers, directors. And this guy is a guy called Jordan Hogg. He's a director for Coronation Street. Even Tony in the States has probably heard of Coronation Street, a huge soap opera we have over here. Had him on for an interview for Act On This. You can watch the whole thing at actonthis.tv. You'll need a premium account to view the whole thing. Otherwise, if you've got a free account, you can watch 15 minutes of it. The whole thing's over an hour, though. And premium membership is just 10 quid a month, okay? And a huge amount of that 10 quid goes to charity, guys. I'm not a fat cat organisation taking loads of money. You can sign up for a year if you want for just 90 quid. Works out at £7.50 a month. But it goes to great causes, okay? So you'll be helping me help you help other people, as well as getting a shit ton of invaluable acting career advice for yourself, okay? So if you want to watch the whole of this interview, get a premium account on actonthis.tv. And like I say, your money's not just helping you, it's going to some awesome charities. Jordan's charity was a hospice down in Scarborough, called St. Catherine's Hospice. So it's all for the greater good, guys. But here's a 1 minute trailer. Check it out, enjoy it, and I'll see you guys again on Monday night, okay, 9 p.m. for Motivation and Mind Hacks. Appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Massively grateful for you. Catch you what you're seeing. Bye for now.
I love being a director, but it's just not something I love and have wanted to do. It's something I need to do. I don't know why. I've got no clue why. I know I have to do it. I've said countless times to people, why don't you do what you want to do? Why? What's stopping you? You've got every option on your doorstep to do what you want to do. I mean, I'm a disabled kid from a Victorian seaside town in North Yorkshire. All my mates work in factories and are drivers and things. And somehow I've managed to do what I want to do. And I love going to work. I do it for free. That's why I've got an agent, to make sure I don't.
Yeah.